Darkness clings to the corridors of Tokyo's Imperial General Headquarters, like a second skin. The July heat presses against the walls, swollen and breathless, as if the building itself is struggling to inhale. A single bulb flickers above the polished wooden floor, its weak light trembling with each electric quiver. Somewhere far off, a distant rumble of thunder rolls through the city, not from the sky, but from artillery tests outside the capital, a reminder that war is no longer a distant storm, but a ring of fire slowly tightening around the empire. A young aide stands alone in the hallway, clutching a leather folder to his chest. His fingers tremble so violently the edges of the paper inside have curled. He can feel the weight of the message he carries. Every rumor in the building has already hinted at it, like cold fingertips brushing the back of the neck. But rumors are survivable. Truth is not. He swallows hard and approaches the double doors leading to the high command conference chamber. The tatami under his sandals whispers with each step. The scent of old ink, dusted maps, and stale cigarette smoke mixes into a thick, unmoving air. He hesitates at the threshold. For a heartbeat, he considers turning back. But there is no turning back. He knocks. The doors slide open. Inside, the room seems carved out of shadow. Only a thin blade of morning light escapes through a narrow window, illuminating drifting dust like tiny souls caught between worlds. General Anami stands near the long table, posture straight, hands clasped behind him. He has not slept. The darkness under his eyes is too deep, too honest. A porcelain cup of tea beside him has long gone cold. Across from him sits Navy Chief Toyota, tapping one finger softly against the lacquered table. Tap, pause, tap. The rhythm of a man calculating the collapse of an empire. No one speaks. They only turn toward the aide as if sensing the verdict in his shaking hands. The aide bows, throat tightening. Gentlemen, news from the Mariana Islands. The storm has finally reached Tokyo. The aide steps forward, each breath tight, as if the air itself resists being drawn. He places the leather folder on the table, but his hands linger on it for a moment, one last fragile hesitation before withdrawing. The room seems to shrink, pulled inward by the gravity of what lies inside. General Anami breaks the silence first. Open it. His voice is low, steady, but lined with something new, an exhaustion that is not physical, not even emotional, but historical. A weariness born from watching the edges of an empire begin to fray. Toyota leans forward. The single beam of light catches the silver in his hair. The aide unfolds the first sheet. His lips part, but no words emerge. The letters on the page blur, not from tears, but from the knowledge that once spoken, they become real. Anami steps closer. I will read it. He takes the paper, his fingers brushing the young man's, warm skin meeting cold fear. Anami reads silently for a long, suffocating moment. His jaw shifts. His throat tightens. The paper trembles slightly in his hand, the only betrayal of what is happening inside him. Finally, he speaks. Saipan has fallen. The words land like stones dropped into deep water. No splash, only sinking. Toyota closes his eyes. A breath leaves him, slow, heavy, as if torn from the deepest part of his lungs. For a heartbeat, the room is utterly still, until the faint crackle of the electric bulb. Overhead breaks the silence again. How long? He whispers. 3 days ago, Anami replies, still staring at the paper. Our last radio transmission ended mid-sentence. A distant memory flickers across the general's face. The confident briefings, the speeches of certainty, the maps painted with red lines pushing outward. That world feels impossibly far away now. Toyota opens his eyes. They are darker, older. Then the Americans are within bomber range of the home islands. The aide flinches. He suddenly feels the sweat on his palms, the trembling in his legs, the cold knot forming in his stomach. This is not just a military report. It is the opening of a door the High Command swore would never be opened. Anami folds the paper with deliberate care. The Emperor must be told. The words "the Emperor must be told" hang in the room like drifting ash. No one moves. No one breathes. The statement is not procedural, it is catastrophic. To inform the Emperor of such a loss is to reveal the nearing fracture of the empire itself. General Toyota finally speaks, his voice distant, hollowed out. Before we report upward, I want everything. His fingers tighten around the edge of the table. Every message, every survivor's account, every final transmission. The aide nods quickly and presents the remaining sheets. But his hands shake again. He cannot stop them. Toyota unfolds the next page. The paper is thin, translucent, government stock rationed down to its last quality. The ink has bled in places. The final radio operator on Saipan must have been sweating over the transmitter as American. Shells tore the island apart. Toyota reads aloud, though his voice is barely more than breath. Enemy forces have breached the northern escarpment. Our lines collapsing. Civilians fleeing. Admiral Nagumo. Gone. We cannot hold. Please. The message cuts off. A line of static scrawled by the transcriber fills the bottom. Toyota stares at it as though willing it to continue, to offer one more word, one more heartbeat of hope. But the page remains silent. A deep tremor passes across his face. Not fear, something heavier, shame. Anami takes the page gently from him. We always knew the Marianas were the barrier, he murmurs. Lose them, and we lose the shield. Thunder rolls again outside, not the distant artillery this time, but real sky-rippling thunder, shaking the frail paper screens of the room. The storm has arrived. Rain begins tapping against the window in uneven rhythms, as if echoing the panic rising across the Pacific. The aide swallows, voice unsteady. Sir, civilians on Saipan. Many chose. He cannot finish. He doesn't need to. Anami's eyes drop. He knows the fate of the thousands who jumped from the cliffs rather than allow themselves to be captured. He knows what the propaganda had promised them would happen. Toyota stands slow, unsteady, as though the floor has shifted beneath him. They jumped, he says quietly, because we told them lies. For the first time, the silence in the room feels unbearable. Rain intensifies outside, hammering the thin window like impatient fingers demanding entry. The steady drumming fills the chamber, a relentless reminder that the world is changing beyond their control. The paper walls tremble with every thunderclap. General Anami lowers himself slowly into his chair, as though his bones have grown heavier in the last few minutes. He sets the report on the table, smoothing the paper with the flat of his palm, an unconscious gesture of someone trying to undo a wrinkle in fate. Toyota remains standing. His silhouette is rigid, outlined by the gray light leaking through the window. He stares at the map pinned to the wall. The Pacific stretched wide, small islands marked in red ink. For years, those red markings meant confidence, projection, ambition. Now they look like open wounds. How many cities can we defend? Toyota asks quietly. Anami lifts his gaze but does not answer. The aide, still at the doorway, shifts nervously. He wants to disappear into the shadows, to escape the suffocating weight of the moment. Yet he can't. His duty roots him in place. Another document slips from his folder, a casualty list. It flutters to the floor like a wounded bird. The aide bends quickly to pick it up, but Anami stops him with a raised hand. Leave it. The list lies there between them, its presence louder than any spoken words. Toyota's voice cracks, not from age, but from the sheer strain of comprehending what Saipan's fall truly means. Tokyo, Nagoya, Osaka, all within reach. The rain abruptly softens, shifting to a thin drizzle. The quiet is worse. Anami rubs his forehead with 2 fingers. His breath escapes in a long, exhausted exhale. We must prepare the homeland. Tell every commander to accelerate defensive lines. Mobilize the civilians, and his voice falters. Toyota completes the thought for him. Begin planning for the unthinkable. A faint chill enters the room. Not from the weather, but from the realization that, for the first time, defeat is no longer abstract. It has a place, a date, a trajectory. The aide finally speaks, his voice no louder than a whisper. Sir, the cabinet is already asking for explanations. Anami's eyes darken. They will have them, and they will not like them. The meeting dissolves into a tense, brittle silence. Papers rustle softly as Anami gathers them, but the sound feels like the tearing of old cloth, fragile, irreversible. Toyota walks toward the window, stopping just short of the thin wooden frame. Outside, the rain has retreated to a misty drizzle that blurs the Imperial Gardens into a watercolor of dark, greens and gray. For a moment, he watches the trees sway under the weight of water. They bend but do not break. If only the Empire could do the same. Without turning, he speaks. How long do you think we have before the Americans come for the Philippines? Anami doesn't answer immediately. He stares at the casualty sheet on the floor. His lips move slightly, counting names. Or maybe ghosts. Months, he finally says. Maybe less. Toyota's shoulders tighten. The sound of that single word, months, echoes through the room like a quiet prophecy. The aide bows deeply, retreating toward the door. He wants to vanish, to escape before another piece of news is thrust into his hands. But as he steps into the hallway, he hears the whispers. Clerks gathered in huddled knots. Officers who pretend to shuffle documents but really watch each other with hunted eyes. A general leaning heavily against the wall, eyes closed, breathing as if each inhale scorches his lungs. The fall of Saipan has already seeped through the building like an invisible toxin. Is it true? Someone whispers. They say the civilians threw themselves from the cliffs. They say Tojo will resign. They say the Emperor has not slept. They say this is the beginning of the end. The aide walks past them, clutching the empty folder to his chest now as if it still carries weight. It does. The weight is memory. Inside the conference room, the two men remain motionless, one by the window, one seated at the table. Toyota finally speaks again. When the Emperor learns the truth, the cabinet will fracture. They will demand answers. They will call for heads. Anami exhales a quiet sigh from the depths of a decades-long duty. Let them, he murmurs. This is only the first crack. A pause, a breath, and cracks spread. The corridors grow quieter as the hour stretches on, as though the building itself senses the gravity of what comes next. Outside, the drizzle has thinned to a cold mist that clings to the windows like breath. Inside, every footstep echoes with a hollow certainty. This day will be remembered. General Anami stands alone now. Toyota has left to alert the Naval Ministry, leaving a silence behind him that feels almost sacred. The remaining papers lie neatly before Anami, aligned with perfect precision. He stares at them the way a surgeon might look at a terminal diagnosis. He straightens his uniform. Then he lifts the message meant for the Emperor. His hand hesitates, not because he fears delivering bad news. He has delivered plenty, but because this one shifts the axis of everything they have fought for. This one will reach farther than the paper it is written on. It will alter expressions. It will tighten hearts. It will echo in the corridors of palaces and battlefields alike. He folds the document carefully, almost tenderly, and places it inside a clean envelope. A soft knock. An older attendant enters, one of the few trusted to relay messages to the throne. His steps are measured, his face unreadable, shaped by years of serving behind silk screens and whispered rituals. General, the attendant says, bowing deeply. Anami returns the bow, his movements precise. He holds out the envelope. This must be delivered immediately. A short pause. His Majesty must know exactly what happened. The attendant's eyes flicker, subtle but enough. He has already heard the rumors. Is it confirmed, sir? Anami nods once. Saipan has fallen. For a moment, the attendant's composure falters. His fingers tighten around the envelope. His throat moves in a single hard swallow. I will deliver it at once. He bows again, lower this time, almost touching the floor, then turns and leaves. His footsteps fading into the dim corridor. As the door closes behind him, Anami sinks into his chair. The room feels colder now. He rubs his temples with slow, heavy strokes. Outside, the mist thickens. Inside, the truth begins its journey toward the Emperor's hands. And nothing, not the army, not the navy, not pride, can stop what comes next.